Clarke and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Okay, so I'm sat here thinking about boxing as I normally do and see what's kind of going on. And it's just occurred to me that I believe it's next week on Wednesday, will be May the 10th, will be the purse bid for Fabio Wardley versus Frazer Clarke for the British heavyweight title. Ordered by the British Box Board of Control for Fabio's title, of course. Now, Frazer Clarke has only had 6 professional fights. He's got a very extensive amateur background, for sure. Is it too soon for the British Box Board of Control to have ordered that fight? Well, yeah, of course. Considering that Frazer, he's only competed in one 8-rounder, and that was his last one, which only went 2 rounds, when Bogdan Dinu quit. And his first 2 or 3 opponents, let's be honest, I could probably beat those. Well, maybe not, but I could certainly give a good account of myself to those, all right? But Sokolowski, that was a very good win and whatever as well. But the point is, he hasn't really had the rounds. Outside of Sokolowski, he hasn't really had the rounds. He hasn't had that pro experience. Now, it's okay for me and a lot of you listening if Frazer Clarke loses, because we know Fabio's good. We do. But for a lot of people will try and twist it. People will try and ruin his reputation. People love nothing more than to troll and put down people, given any reason. Where in today's era, it's not okay to take a loss. So if, and Frazer won't want to hear this, okay, but if he was to lose to Fabio Wardley, but what happens with him? There'd be so many people, oh, he's trash, he's a hype job, Sky and Boxers spent all this money on somebody who ain't that good, he's an Olympic bronze medalist and just lost to a guy, a white-collar fighter with 0 amateur experience. It goes to show that the amateur system ain't all that. Who needs amateurs? Who needs to go through spending years in the amateur system when you may as well just be a white-collar fighter? That's how it's going to be. So the reputation of the amateur system is on the line as well if Frazer was to lose. Now, if Fabio was to lose, that's no biggie. For many, that's expected. Which is a little surprising because for me, I think Fabio is underrated. I think a lot of people look at Fabio and see him as very, very beatable. I think it's a different story when you stood there in front of him. Honestly. And he's much bigger than what people think that he is. Believe it or not, he's actually, 6'5"? He's a big old lump. He really is. But if he was to lose, not only would his reputation with the boxing fans be up in the air, the amateur system will be in question as well, but also you have to look at it from a business perspective as well. Sky Sports boxer Ben Shalom, they've invested a lot of money in Frazer Clarke. They beat out the competition to sign him up with the hope that at some point he's going to have to be headlining his own shows and maybe be a pay-per-view fighter at some point. Okay? So the last thing in the world that they need is Frazer Clarke, a guy who's earning a lot of money, is to lose. Because if he was to lose, listen, I don't know what his contract situation is, how many fights he's got left, or is it a term for, I don't know, a remaining year, 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 5 years. I don't know what kind of contract he has. But whatever contract he has, they have to honour it. So if this guy's taken a loss, and he's taken a beating on social media, called a hype job, he's no good, this, that and the other, they're still going to have to pay him the money that they promised him in the contract. So if I'm Ben Shalom, if I'm Boxer, if I'm Sky Sports, if I'm his 258 management team, i.e. Anthony Joshua and that whole team, I'm probably sitting Frazer Clarke down and saying, listen, we do believe in you, of course we do. Can you beat Fabio? Of course you can. Would you be the favourite to beat Fabio? Maybe. But right now, we would prefer it if you took another couple of fights. I think if you took another couple of fights and then maybe look at that, okay. Because right now, you don't have the rounds. Fabio, if you look at Fabio's record, it's actually very good. Beating a Nick Webb, okay, Nick Webb, listen, he can't take a punch, okay? I like Nick Webb, but that's reality. He can't take a punch. He went to war with Nathan Gorman, but he's got Nathan Gorman on his resume. Even Eric Molina. Again, you have to look back at his background as well. You have to look at the fact that he defeated and stopped Simon Vallily. Simon Vallily was a Commonwealth gold medalist, again, from the amateur system. So there's his white-collar fighter battering these GB teams fighters. What does that say about Team GB? What does that say about the amateur system? It says a lot, doesn't it? So if I'm Frazer Clarke's team, and Frazer, listen, he's a fighter, he'll fight anybody. just like Fabio. Fight anybody, of course they would. And I see it all the time with fighters that I know. Yeah, I'll fight him. Yeah, I'll fight him. Yeah, no problem. But they shouldn't fight them. Because what if you lose? Because they don't think about, well, what if I lose? They think about, when I win, what's going to happen next after that? That's what they think. They don't think, well, what if I lose? Fighters should think, what if I lose? But Frazer Clarke, if he was to lose, that's his career on hold for a long, long time. That Sky Sports boxer out of pocket, because they're going to have to keep on paying him. Maybe Frazer won't be able to take the loss. Because again, when you lose as an amateur, that's no biggie. People don't even notice, really. But you lose as a pro, it's on your box rate record. Boxing fans notice, especially when you're on Sky Sports, especially if you're on DAZN or BT Sport. However, people will notice and people will remember it and people will play the highlight reels. They will, especially if he gets knocked out, quite honestly, because he only had 6 fights, he ain't going to like it. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I wouldn't take it just in case. Now, if he does take it and if he does win, okay, he's British champion in 7 fights. Phenomenal. Great. But what if he don't? What if he doesn't? You have to look at it from a business perspective. What if he doesn't? Is it too soon? Yeah, it is too soon. Who should fight Fabio instead? Well, arguably the English champion in Solomon Dakers. Arguably. David Adelaide, he was shouting up and down for that. Go on then. For now, I think Frazer should be concentrating on getting a couple of gatekeepers. Looking at those. Getting a few more rounds in the bank. Don't just go out there and look for the knockout in the first couple of rounds. Allow yourself to have some rounds. Get that experience. Get that momentum. Try the things that you've been doing in the gym. Because amateur and pro, it is different. Of course, it's boxing. It's virtually the same rules, except with that pro, you can fence as amateur and that you can't. But if I'm Frazer right now, I wouldn't take the fight. I wouldn't. And I said, Frazer won't want to hear that because he's a warrior. Fabio ain't going to want to hear that because he'll see it as no better time to get Frazer. You know what I mean? Quite honestly. So if I'm Frazer and I'm advising him, I would advise him to not take the fight. Now, ultimately, Ben Shalom can advise him, Boxer, Sky Sports, 258, Anthony Joshua, and whoever else can advise him, don't take the fight. But ultimately, the fight has been ordered, and it's up to Frazer to ultimately accept it or turn it down. At the end of the day, he's the boss. If he says, no, I'm going through with it, there's nothing anybody can do about it. But quite honestly, I wouldn't take that fight yet. I think Fabio is too dangerous. I do. Could Frazer beat him? He could, of course. But anyway, listen, that's my thoughts. What's yours? Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.